The world of tennis is in disbelief. This is not a drill, so stop what you're doing. The Australian Open finalist and current world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, has formally withdrew from the Qatar Open. This is the twist, though, that no one is discussing. She's not by herself. This isn't just one withdrawal. This is a tournament unfolding in real time, a mass migration, and a domino effect. What we're seeing might change the WTA schedule for years to come, and the Qatar Open is on the verge of collapse. Allow me to explain. With good reason, Sabalenka is the story's main focus. She is a formidable contender in sports and the reigning champion from 2020, but she is just the beginning. Jessica Pegula, a model of consistency and the 6th-ranked player in the world, has withdrawn. In a bold decision, 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka has completely opted out, avoiding the Middle East Tour. Madison is out. Out. Barbara Krejcikova, Leylah Fernandez, Marqueta Vondrousova, and an increasing number of players who are alleging injuries or strategic rest are also included. There are more than just a few stars missing from the Qatar Open. It is hemorrhaging at a half-tour level. This attrition is not typical. It has nothing to do with a few injuries or schedule issues. This is a systemic issue. This is a calculated move. Doha isn't worth the risk, the journey, or the wear and tear, according to the finest female tennis players. This is a nightmare for the tournament organizers. Star power, Sabalenka, Pegula, Osaka, ticket sales, sponsorship, and television rights were all crucial to the months-long campaign. The marquee names are no longer there. The timetable is thrown off. Additionally, the level of competition that supporters were promised may not be seen on the desert courts. Withdrawals are not the only aspect of this. For years to come, the Qatar Open and even the WTA circuit itself will be defined by this crisis, seismic shift, and narrative. This is a refined, high-drama rewrite of your fallout portion from the Qatar Open. I've made it smoother, more punchy, and suited for a YouTube-style story while maintaining all the tension, analysis, and human element. And now take a look at the mess they are in. Once a showcase for the world elite, the Qatar Open is rushing to load its main draw with players who should be competing in the qualifiers to secure a spot. Give that some thought. Alexandra Eala, Emiliana Arango, Daria Kasatkina, Anastasia Pavlovna, and Christina Ba were unexpectedly given main draw spots in elite WTA tennis. The top names just aren't showing up, not because they deserve it. These athletes are undoubtedly talented, but Doha did not promise a star-studded event. There are no headliners or big games to generate media attention and ticket sales. A WTA 1000 tournament should not be organized like this. When the stars choose to leave town, you don't just fill in the gaps in your lineup. And this is where it all starts. Sabalenka. It wasn't only a final that she experienced in Melbourne. She was emotionally and physically exhausted from the emotional marathon against Elena Rybakina. She didn't conceal it either. She was remarkably open during her press conference following the game. No generic, "I'll return with more powerful sentences." No corporate public relations spin. She acknowledged that Rybakina gave it her all, played wonderfully, and did, in fact, miss a couple opportunities. However, the statement that provides the most lucid understanding of the pressure these athletes endure came next. It's simply tennis. You can be the loser one day, the winner the next, and then the kicker. This season, hopefully, I'll be more of a winner than a loser. I'm praying and hoping right now. Take a minute to pause. That's not a casual remark. That is the unvarnished, naked mindset of a global number one. It's a statement that combines fatigue, ambition, and the burden of expectation. The human aspect of professional tennis cannot always be planned, advertised, or coerced into a major event, which is precisely why the Qatar Open is collapsing. The tour is watching in real time as the dominoes fall and Doha is affected. He is the top person in the world. We are discussing a woman who has dominated the WTA for years, a multiple Grand Slam champion. Nevertheless, she freely acknowledges that she is hoping and praying that this season would see more victories than defeats. That isn't the prefabricated assurance that top athletes typically exhibit. That's a person who just gave her everything in a Grand Slam final, lost, and is now attempting to rebuild herself in front of the cameras. Vulnerability is that. That is unvarnished honesty. Behind the headlines, there is the reality. The psychological and emotional costs of 2 demanding weeks of peak performance. Sabalenka said even more when asked to evaluate her performance at the Australian Open. She joked with her agency about not committing to a deadline. I might be able to truly move on from this loss in a week or a few days. Her current mood, which she described as a frenzied, messy outpouring of frustration, disappointment, and fury that had accumulated over the past 2 weeks, was a combination of laughing and crying. She acknowledged that she struggled to keep up with Rybakina's increased aggression and was angry with herself for missing opportunities on the court. But there was clarity even in that unvarnished honesty. She said that Rybakina was just the superior player that day and that she played amazing tennis overall. Then followed a powerful line. "We'll talk to the team. They make an effort to stay away from me since being around me at the moment is not very healthy. Take a moment. Give that some thought." Because her energy is so powerful and emotionally charged that it is exhausting, her own support team, the people whose job it is to help her handle setbacks, are purposefully giving her space. In professional tennis, when the majority of players meticulously cultivate a public image of resilience and control, that degree of candor is practically unheard of. Sabalenka is demonstrating to the world what happens when you put your all into your sport, battle through 2 grueling weeks, and lose in a Grand Slam final. It's true that she's crying, laughing uncontrollably, and acknowledging that she's nearly intolerable to be around. This is elite competition from a human perspective. The side supporters don't always comprehend, and the side cameras hardly ever record. A week after a Grand Slam final, you don't simply turn back on and perform at your best. You're mentally broken. Your body is begging for a break. You can't stop thinking about the loss, sadness, and countless hypothetical scenarios. Before you can even begin rebuilding, you need time to comprehend, to be human, and to feel the destruction. When seen in this light, Sabalenka's decision to withdraw from the Qatar Open suddenly makes perfect sense. Just days after Melbourne, she is emotionally and physically exhausted and unfit to perform at the highest level. It would be career malpractice to enter another high-stakes tournament at this time. She would arrive unprepared, probably lose early, and fall into a deeper emotional and mental hole from which it may take weeks or even months to recover. However, this is where situation and strategy collide. Sabalenka is not competing in a tournament where she isn't defending important ranking points and where her previous performance hasn't exactly been outstanding. In 2020, she had her greatest run in Doha. Her performances have been erratic ever since. She isn't merely safeguarding her emotional well-being by withdrawing. Additionally, she is defending her long-term season plan and ranking. It has nothing to do with weakness. It has to do with strategic career management. It is true that mental health exists. Burnout is a real thing. Elite athletes are well aware that their schedules necessitate brutal prioritization. You can't compete at your best both emotionally and physically at every event. Each elite player has to decide which competitions are really important. Everything becomes tradable, including ranking points, prizes, cash, sponsorship commitments, legacy, and more. This year's Qatar Open definitely fits into that negotiable category. Just a few days after the Australian Open, there isn't much time for rehabilitation, which is terrible timing. It comes right before Dubai, a larger, more prestigious WTA 1000 event with greater stakes and fiercer competition, and the travel requirements to the Middle East are taxing. Why put in the effort in Doha if you're going to dedicate yourself to the Middle East swing when the tournament that really counts is only around the corner? This is a nightmare for organizers. Sabalenka has participated in the Qatar Open in the past. Fans anticipated her return because she had previously carried the trophy and given outstanding performances here. However, the new reality of professional tennis is highlighted by this calculated retreat. Tradition and expectations are not the only factors in scheduling. In a harsh tour schedule, it's about longevity, survival, and making wise decisions. When Sabalenka made her Doha debut in 2020, she quickly established herself as a formidable opponent and won the title in spectacular way. Such a victory ought to foster a bond and a sense of commitment to the occasion. A player ought to desire to come back, protect her legacy, and experience that greatness again. However, winning a championship 6 years ago doesn't make you feel obligated to play when you're worn out. After a Grand Slam final defeat, your heart is still in shock and your mind is broken. There is nothing that Sabalenka owes the Qatar Open. Not when she needs to take a break for her mental and physical health. This must seem like a major crisis to the tournament organizers. Having the best players in women's tennis on their courts served as the basis for a whole marketing effort. The area's ardent supporters purchased premium seats. The prospect of blockbuster contests and meticulously orchestrated stories intended to garner international attention helped to earn sponsorship deals. And now that whole plan is falling apart day by day and week by week. The only reason their top seed is there is because everyone who was placed higher in the draw withdrew. Fans anticipated the big games. Osaka versus Keys and Sabalenka versus Pagula are over. Rather, players that the majority of casual fans have never heard of are suddenly the focus. Almost overnight, the star power that the Qatar Open was counting on has disappeared. The scenario is understandably frustrating from the standpoint of a fan. Imagine being a tennis fan in Qatar or any other part of the Middle East who looks forward to one of the rare opportunities each year to see elite women's tennis live. You plan your calendar around the event, purchase your tickets months in advance, and hope to witness Sabalenka, Pagula, Osaka, and the other top athletes compete at the top level. Then they all pull out one by one. Sabalenka needs to relax. Pagula is hurt. Osaka will not be participating in the Middle East swing. The keys come out. Chikova is unable to attend. All of a sudden, the event you were looking forward to is hardly identifiable. It now feels more like a challenger-level tournament than a flagship WTA event. And as a paying fan, it's easy to see annoyance escalating into rage or even refund requests at that point. When does the tournament become less credible? Doha appears to be in disarray from the outside. However, the calculus looks very different when you consider the players themselves, especially someone in Sabalenka's shoes. She just went through one of the most physically and emotionally taxing experiences of her career. She is really worn out. The result is inevitable if she pushes herself to compete in Qatar while still dealing with Melbourne's loss and stuck in the poisonous mental state she described. She would give up ranking points that she would have otherwise defended if she lost early, perhaps to a player outside the top 50. The scoreline wouldn't be the only indicator of that loss. It would exacerbate her mental stress and delay the much-needed emotional healing. Recognizing when you're not ready and allowing yourself time to reset is a professional strategic move. A basic weakness in the WTA scheduling is revealed by this circumstance. There are just too many prestigious and required competitions crammed into too little time. Nearly all year long, players are expected to perform at their best. Injuries can hardly be healed during the off-season, let alone a significant mental vacation prior to the next demanding season. And what we're seeing in Doha is precisely the outcome. Athletes must make difficult strategic choices regarding which events are really important and which they can afford to miss due to burnout, injuries, and mental tiredness. Iga Swiatek emerges as Doha's new top seed. She is currently ranked second in the world and is undoubtedly the most dominant player on tour. Her path to the title appears considerably simpler now that Sabalenka and a large portion of the top tier are not there. From a purely competitive perspective, this is a fantastic chance to collect prize money and ranking points against a weak field. However, there is an asterisk attached to any victory in these situations. It's not the same as defeating elite opponents head-to-head and demonstrating your superiority on the court when you win because they pulled out. The trophy, the points, and the salary are all true, but there will always be a disclaimer in the story. Sabalenka, Pagula, and Osaka were absent when Swiatek won Qatar. In the meantime, this is a dream come true for the players who advanced from the qualifying stages. Athletes like Kristina Bacca, Daria Kasatkina, Alexandra Ayala, and others unexpectedly